Hey, real quick before we get back, what's our policy on cursing?
If I think if the situation calls for it, yes, but I'm going to not do it too much
Okay.
because I think
We don't
I
want
think a
to,
little cursing goes a long way.
we don't want to drop a ton of F-bombs in the podcast, huh? I'll cut out this laughing.
Yeah, you'll have to cut out all this because because I was about to just scream.
In a world where the last thing we needed was more podcasts, we present to you the pods we cast along the way.
This is off to a great start.
Hello, I'm Ryan Costello.
I'm Spencer Richardson, and you're listening to our very first episode of the pods we cast along the way. And I think we should just rip the Band-Aid off now because it's going to probably be a question to the three people who end up listening to this show, where we came up for the name of this podcast. I think we just kind of threw this out there as like a joke name because we've been wanting to do a podcast for a while because like every middle class white narcissist in America, we think we have the most important voice in the country.
Yes.
So you really do want to listen to us for the most hot takes on every current issue. We saw back when did Ready Player One hit theaters? Was that 2018?
It was too long ago and not long enough.
It's very true. Which I can also say the exact same sentiment about your last visit, which is when we saw
That's true.
Ready Player One.
Yeah.
A movie which I don't think either of us had any interest in seeing. But I remember I came home that day because you were out in Orange County. You were staying with me, and I came in and I was like, "Do you want to go see Ready Player One? It looks really dumb."
It was. I mean, here's like I think Ready Player One. Someone somewhere like that's their favorite movie. Like they have like the perfect mix of like pop culture and like incel protagonist mentality.
Oh no.
Where no, I'm getting to
We're jumping into that, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, listen, I mean, I don't know.
Like we said, only the hottest takes on pop culture.
It's fine. It's a movie.
No, it is. You're right. It was classic. The thing I actually did appreciate about that movie was that it was sort of that schmaltzy Steven Spielberg. It felt like a Steven Spielberg movie, which is weird because you don't realize that just watching, because he had such a hot streak, in the 70s through the late 80s, early 90s, and then nothing for a long time, really. I feel like he wasn't making movies for a long time. He was sort of grooming Abrams to sort of step up and take his place, and that worked out great. It being, schmaltzy and kind of stupid, there are moments and there are lines, and one of the ones that's sort of become a meme, and I want to say for the record, I feel like we sort of championed that before it really became a meme, was making a joke out of the line. The real treasure was the friends we made along the way.
Yes, we invented that. We should have trademarked it. We did not, and now we are fools.
We should have put it up on Reddit and put it into whatever that meme stock exchange subreddit is.
Should cash out now.
We would have been millionaires in fake internet points.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen Ready Player One, the whole premise is basically it's an online game, and the creator put together a bunch of super secret challenges where each player had to find, an Easter egg, and it was sort of like a Willy Wonka scenario where the person who found all 3 of the eggs basically got to run the game. And the kid who wins at the end, he makes a bunch of friends and they have adventures, and like I said, it's very classic, Spielberg fodder. But at the very end, he's talking about how the real treasure was the friends we made along the way. And I don't know why we thought that was such a funny idea for a podcast name, but that's our story and we're sticking to it. So for the faithfuls, for those who go all the way back to episode 1, that's your origin story. We're never going to mention it again.
No, you'll just have to remember that and pass it on.
And when we forget to renew our podcast hosting domain subscription and this episode gets taken down, you'll just be you'll be out of luck.
That's right. You'll have to be left with the mystery.
So start downloading these episodes now, because I'll tell you, these are just going to appreciate in value as time goes on.
How come in Ready Player One, when they had the trailer for those movies, the song that they used was Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Because that whole movie is about nostalgia for 80s movies and video games. And Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is neither of those things. So why that song?
Well, like I said, I think when we were given a brief synopsis, we were saying that the guy who created the online game, the Oasis is what it's called, he was sort of a mythical figure like Willy Wonka was, and his contest to find these Easter eggs, these golden tickets, was sort of Wonka-esque in everybody wanted to do it, but it was very difficult to attain, those eggs, those keys that they needed to take over. And much like the end of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the whole point is, this kid who is sort of down on his luck gets to take over the keys to the kingdom at the end, just like Charlie.
So is that not rubbing its nose in the fact that it is a ripoff of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Or does it, maybe it was a ripoff, but putting the song in goes like, no, it's an homage.
Well, that's the thing, right? Anytime you get called out for ripping something off, it's an homage. We're not ripping anything off. We're homaging these things. That and soft reboot. Those are the two buzzwords in Hollywood.
Soft reboot.
Yeah, I love that our biting commentary is a review of Ready Player One 2 years after the fact.
I think let's change our podcast. Our podcast is now solely on the movie Ready Player One.
We're just going to talk about Ready Player One.
We're just going to talk about Ready Player One, a movie we have not seen in years
and have never read the book for. Know
nothing of the source material for, and we'll just dissect it until we are right.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah,
people definitely want to listen to that. And
it's a very niche market for a very niche movie.
Well, that's the thing. Didn't that movie make what was the box office on that movie? I feel like it did pretty well.
I think it probably did well. It's a sci-fi movie. It's Steven Spielberg. It's got some fun visual effects in it. I would assume it's probably pretty good, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up right now and see what the total box office was. Yeah, it made over $500 million, so it did fine.
Well, depending on how much the movie cost, but it sounds like it did really very well.
That's true. I mean, it was a very visually lavish movie, but I am curious to see what the budget for a show like or for a movie like that was. 175. It had a budget of 175 million, so it made 4 times nearly what it cost to make. But that's not factoring in things like what they spent on advertising, what they spent on, marketing, stuff like that.
That's true. Ready Player One, when you think about it, is just the poor man's Spy Kids 3D game over. That was really that is the virtual reality sucked to the video game movie. Forget Tron Legacy.
Oh, believe me, Ryan, people have forgotten Tron and Tron Legacy.
it all goes back to Spy Kids 3D Game Over.
You think
in
so?
Spy Kids 3D Game Over, Junie is going after his sister and is sucked into a world where he has to complete challenges. But I believe if he dies, then he dies for real.
Oh, so it's like Nightmare on Elm Street rules.
Yeah, and it's in 3D.
You know, that was one of the funny things about Ready Player One. When we were watching it, you know how at the end they're having like all the players, all the users are like banding together to like take down the evil corporate entity, and they're all like battling. The thing about Ready Player One is they very clearly established that in order to move around in the game, you're basically set up on this treadmill thing. So your motion, your movement in your rig, in your setup, is mirrored one-to-one in the game. So all these people who were just like playing through their phones and their like portable headsets, were they just running around in the middle of like traffic in the streets?
Yes. It's a commentary on Pokemon Go and the dangers of not knowing your surroundings.
Oh man, that's about as cutting edge and biting commentary as our commentary on Ready Player One.
You know what? This podcast is about Pokemon Go.
Okay, so just dear viewers, dear listeners, whatever platform you're absorbing this hot garbage on,
I think they're reading it.
They're probably. I'm not transcripting these hour-long shows.
I've been typing it this entire time.
Have you? Okay, good. We'll put that in the show notes.
I'll release it on Amazon.
Awesome. We'll get back to that because I've got a story for you there. The thing about this podcast is, you know, the whole like the pods we cast along the way. Much like Ready Player One, I feel like this is sort of just an open roundtable forum on talking about like general pop culture stuff. Ryan, you and I, we really like to just kind of go back and forth and talk about, you know, what's going on in Hollywood, what's going on in the games industry, you know, just
we sure do.
Any number of those things we really like to just kind of chat about, and we felt like a podcast was good forum for that. So while we kind of have a vague idea of what the format of the show is going to be, we really still are kind of figuring this out. So it'll be a few episodes before we really get into a rhythm of things, but you know, like I said, we felt like our voice needed to be heard by as many people as possible.
So we're forcing it onto people.
Exactly. So
we're gonna buy up ads on like other podcasts. We're gonna tell people this is like the new Billie Eilish album, and they'll listen to it.
If Billie Eilish released a track that was just like a really good beat over like an NPR podcast, it would probably go platinum.
That's brilliant to have artists come out and it's just like facts about like global warming, but it's like and like tips on like how to like go green like in your home, but it's just like set to a beat. Like unplug your chargers when you're not using them. Ladies and gentlemen,
I think it's time for our first music break in the podcast. Ryan, you want to set this one up?
Oh, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, here on tour for the first time in years, Hootie and the Blowfish. Hootie and the Blowfish, everybody.
And we're back. That was Hootie and the Blowfish. Really great.
Fuck, my toe!
We just had a conversation during the break about whether or not we were going to curse, so thank you, Ryan.
Yes, I said let's be careful with our cursing. Let's only do it when it's hilarious. I made an executive decision to use our one swear word.
Great, I'm glad that you
at a time when it was the most funny, and I think it was hilarious.
No, I mean, because listen, we're all adults. We're not going to pretend that this is a podcast that kids are going to be interested in listening to, because we are aged. We're both
That's
almost
true.
30, so that's like 50 in
It's
contemporary
true.
teenager eyes.
Mhm.
Um, so
Although I'm sharing this podcast with all of my kids.
yeah, I know you've got a few, some in
I've got a
different
few.
states.
Some of them I know about, some of them I don't.
Yeah,
But they'll hear it.
they'll find out somehow.
This is their Christmas gift.
Nice. It's almost like you're actually there with them.
I know.
That's so fucking dark. Oh God. Yeah. So we actually do have some talking points that we wanted to get into besides just rambling like a bunch of lunatics. But before we get into our first topic, we were talking about Ryan. You had made a joke about putting the transcript of the show on Amazon, but knowing you, it also probably wasn't a joke. Um, just a little more backstory. Ryan and I met when we were in college, and when we were in college together, we used to do radio drama. And I have published a few, and chances are, if you're listening to this on YouTube, it is through my channel. So a little bit of selfless promotion, or selfish self-promotion, rather. You'll probably be listening to this. Sorry, we're not doing anything interesting, just this show nowadays. But when I first moved down to Southern California after school, I got an email from somebody who wanted me to do an audiobook slash dramatic adaptation of their self-published ebook on Amazon. And me, being naive and just out of college, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do anything. I'll totally do your show. I read the first 3 chapters. It was, and I'm not going to dox this guy. I'm not going to call him out, but it was a novella about monsters, like your classic Frankenstein, Mummy, Wolfman type monsters living in like a suburbia setting. So it was like a gated community for horror monsters. 3rd chapter, the wife of the main protagonist tried to have an affair with Frankenstein, so I closed the book and sent a very polite email saying, this just isn't, I don't think this is a material that I want to adapt, but thank you for your consideration. So
I used to I used to go on copywriting sites because they would have certain people that they would just want stuff written that they didn't want to put in the work to actually write them. And there were people that were like, I have ideas for erotica, but I don't know how to write erotica. And basically looking for people going would you write erotica for me? Because I have this very specific thing that I want laid out. I know the bullet points. I know what I want to happen.
So they were commissioning erotica just through these copyright websites?
Yes.
Guys,
so it's they want to write their erotica.
DeviantArt is a thing, just so everybody knows. If you need to commission and you can't write,
go to DeviantArt. That's what it's for.
That's what it's for, is just for... Anyways, continue your story.
Oh, no, that's basically it. I just want all of our listeners to know, if you need your erotica written, Spencer and I will do it for what do you charge for erotica nowadays? 69 cents per word.
You jumped on the joke. I was going to say tree fitty, but
I'm sorry, were we not slow clapping?
You want to jump into our first topic that we actually plan to talk about?
Yes, let's
just ramble about.
What are we talking about?
So one of the things that came up lately was there was an update for a remaster of a GameCube era, PS2 era game. It was the SpongeBob SquarePants game, Battle for Bikini Bottom. And to me, that was just such a random game to pull from the depths of history and remaster, that it kind of was just it was weird and mind-boggling, but also kind of charming. And it just raised the question, if that can get a remaster, what other games are out there from that era that we would want to see remastered? So I posed that question to Ryan. If you could pick, a game from that era to redo, remaster, what would you pick?
Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is a great licensed game from that era that has aged very well. The new Spider-Man game that just came out for PlayStation 4 actually took a lot of the web slinging mechanics from that game and placed them into and basically like adapted the world building from that game onward. It's a very great game based on a movie, which is very rare. There are when they rebooted GoldenEye 007 for the Wii a couple of years ago, it wasn't necessarily like a remake, but they took a lot of those properties and they kind of modernized them, and they put Daniel Craig as the James Bond for that game, even though it was originally Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
I think you can make a Spider-Man 2 and put in Tom Holland and just play through the game just in a new way. And I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that's a game that's definitely worth revisiting.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it does raise the question, has Spider-Man for PS4 made a remaster like Spider-Man 2? I don't want to say irrelevant, but it certainly would pose an interesting choice for people, buying that game to make. It's like, do I want to buy, Spider-Man 2 remastered? And that follow-up question for you is, what would you name it? Would you call it Spider-Man 2 remastered, or would you sort of just basically take the outline, the framing, the structure of that game, because it sort of follows the movie but also doesn't? It like adds its own stuff to the campaign, that it definitely is a good standalone game, and that's a great choice because it is a good standalone game, even though it is technically a movie tie-in. What would you name that game? How would you market it? Because they, like you said, with GoldenEye, it was sort of the opposite, right? They took a game that people, I think, were expecting a 1-to-1, upscaling, reconversion, remastering of, and instead we kind of got a shitty Call of Duty ripoff.
That's true. I would try to tie it closely to, it's a remake of Spider-Man 2 the game, so it's kind of a mouthful. So I think it would have to be like something like Spider-Man 2 the game reslung. Don't laugh at my
It's not dumber than SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. That is literally what it's being called.
You know what? I'm sorry. Spider-Man 2 the game Rehydrated.
There you go.
There we go. That's the one. What was your game? What would you remaster from that era?
Well, it's funny. You were talking about how good of a movie tie-in game it was, which really was rare at the time. For anyone who is young and actually listening to this, and isn't a friend or a family member who we forced to listen to this podcast, movie tie-in games were a huge thing from like the early 2000s through the twilight years of the Wii era. So like, when did the Wii finally stop production? Was that like 2011, 2012?
I think the Wii U came out 2012, so it must have been. I actually think technically, like, it was very recent because they still make Just Dance games for the Wii.
Oh, that's right, they do. Although I think the most recent Let's Dance game was like the last one. It was kind of.
I'm sorry, Spencer. I'm sorry. You just
Oh,
said.
did I say Let's Dance?
You said Let's Dance. It's Just Dance.
Just Dance.
Spencer, are you taking this podcast seriously?
Not really.
You can't. Neither am I. But I'm sorry. Continue.
No, I was. So I was gonna say. Did you ever play Tak and the Power of Juju?
Yes.
That was a fun one.
Juju.
And that I think would make an excellent remaster. But as you were talking about movie tie-in games, I think a game that actually would be really good and has a market for still would be the Haunted Mansion game they made that tied into the movie. Now, it's important to note the Haunted Mansion tie-in game had absolutely nothing to do with the movie, which is why it was a good game. It really was just a video game of the Haunted Mansion lore, which was really cool. It was kind of a Luigi's Mansion. We'll say homage, not a ripoff. It was an homage. Um, but you basically had to go around and clear out every room. There was a puzzle for each room, and afterwards the lights would go on, and you had to search the room to capture 999 ghosts throughout the course of the game. And you got upgrades, and the mansion would expand, and things would unlock as you progressed. Like it was a legitimately good game, and I've played through it a handful of times. I revisit it once every couple of years.
Nice. I grew up with that game too. I believe it or not, it's kind of an obscure game, but I had it and I had a lot of fun with it. The only thing I remember, the bosses in that game, you had to beat the boss, and then your goal was to return death certificates to ghosts so they could discover how they died. Yeah. And I remember they're just funny. There's like a ghost that's always drinking tea, and you give them their death certificate, and they go, "Oh, I was poisoned by the tea. Oh, but I love tea so much." And then it's a charming little game.
It is. They, like I said, they really were able to take sort of all of the elements of the Haunted Mansion, which narratively, thematically, is kind of a mess. I love that attraction dearly, but there really is no narrative. It's just a series of gags and visual, jokes set up through a ride. So to take those ideas and actually kind of flesh them out, for lack of a better word, and put them into a game, it was really fun. It was a really good one.
It was fun. I will tell you that when I was a kid playing that game, I was disappointed that Eddie Murphy was not in the game.
Oh, really? Did you want to play as Eddie Murphy?
Yes, I wanted so badly to play as Eddie Murphy. There aren't enough Eddie Murphy games. Where is my Dreamgirls game?
What about Pluto Nash, the game?
Where is my Norbit game?
That was a Wii Shovelware title, I believe.
I think that was a Wii Shovelware movie.
Oh, comedy. Got him, Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, rest in peace.
He's not
Spencer.
dead, right?
What?
Just his career.
Oh. Dolomite is my name.
We got to be careful about who we call out on this program, or we're gonna get sued for slander.
When everyone listens to this podcast, they're gonna be like, "Oh man!" One day we're gonna be like, "Hey, Eddie Murphy, we'd really like you to come on this podcast," and then he's gonna say, "Hey, Spencer, what's that great Eddie Murphy impression that you do?"
Oh no, we're not doing this.
Kidding. Just kidding, and we could cut that out, but
no. No, actually, Eddie Murphy, to his credit, he's had a pretty big comeback lately. He had a stand-up special recently on Netflix, I think it was, right?
No, he's coming out with one though.
He's coming out with one. Okay,
hasn't released yet, but I'm very excited.
He also returned to SNL for the first time, I think, since his stint on the show, and he was just in Dolomite Is My Name, which I have yet to check out, but I'm excited to, as a fan of that genre of movies. I'm really looking forward to it. Did you see Dolomite Is My Name?
I did. It's great. It's I think Eddie Murphy's great in it, but I think the person that steals the I think there are two people that steal the show. Wesley Snipes, and I don't know the name of the actress, but I think she's a Tony Award winner. But the woman that he kind of helps along, that's the female comedian. Like I thought she was going to win an Oscar for that movie. I would have put money on it when I saw it.
Oh,
but
nice.
The whole movie it's just a fun, feel good movie, and it's a great biopic.
Yeah. Well, and Eddie Murphy too. I feel like he's kind of at the point of his career where he's had some downtime. He can really start coming back and doing stuff he's passionate about, because go figure, when actors do things they're passionate about, the product ends up being pretty good. And that movie too, I think, was it was either written by or directed. No, not directed, because that would have been Tim Burton. But the guys who wrote Ed Wood, I think, also worked on Dolomite Is My Name. Similar structure of movie, sort of seeing the rise of a mythic figure like Rudy Ray Moore, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's a great movie. I heavily recommend it. And that's our recommendation.
Hey, there you go. I like that.
There we go.
Check out
See?
Dolomite Is
We're
My
making
Name.
segments.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, what else do you recommend?
Oh, gosh, to watch lately? I guess I could just go back through movies that I really liked that I watched last year. So there is a movie that I watched back over the Halloween season. Um, it was called One Cut of the Dead. And
Mm.
I really can't go too in depth about it because it gives away sort of the twists of it. But let me just put it this way: it is a subversion of the zombie film genre, sort of in the same vein as Shaun of the Dead, but it is the best zombie comedy I have seen since Shaun of the Dead. And it's Japanese, I believe, Japanese language film. So it does have subtitles, but if you get a chance to see it, I think it's on Amazon. Definitely watch it. It is very much worth your time. It is legitimately one of the best movies that I saw last year. And in the same vein as your recommendation, it is also a feel-good movie. You do feel you get kind of choked up at the end.
Oh, nice.
Not in like a tragic way, just in like oh, this is actually kind of a feel-good movie. So it's really good.
I didn't know that about that movie, so I will definitely check it out.
Yeah. So next time we come on the podcast, we'll have to pretend that we saw each other's recommendation and talk about it.
Oh yeah, like it's on my shelf. Like I'll watch it.
It'll be just like the time that we both had. We maintained a conversation, I want to say, for a good minute and a half about No Country for Old Men, and neither of us had seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet both of us were talking about it like we had seen it.
I will tell you, Spencer, I have since seen No Country for Old Men.
And I have not. So
if you ever want to talk about it again,
I'll need to watch. You know what? This is the dumbest thing. I own that movie. I bought it on digital when it was on sale with like the intent of watching it, and I still haven't gotten to it because apparently I would rather watch the same 8 YouTube videos on repeat that I watch.
Well, I'll tell you what. Next time I'm there, or whenever you're here, we will watch No Country for Old Men together.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like
or we'll just watch the same YouTube videos over.
Well, I'll just show you the YouTube videos that I've been watching ad nauseum.
Excellent.
Oh man. All right. So I guess it's time to move on to our next segment. Ryan, what do you got? What's good?
What do I have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, this is a segment called Spencer Richardson. Have you ever eaten an orange in the shower?
No, but I've eaten bacon in the shower.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you would think that eating bacon and taking a shower at the same time would be really, like, enjoyable because the shower's nice and warm, like, you're nice and comfortable. It's really not. It's kind of gross.
Yeah. No, I could see that.
And I don't know if it's because the combination of the two sensations was gross, or if it's because the bacon itself was gross. Jury might still be out on that, but yeah, 0 out of 5 stars. Do not recommend.
Okay, I've eaten an orange in the shower before. It was delicious. The orange just continues to stay like moist and can we say that?
Yeah, I think we can say moist, Ryan. maybe succulent, juicy are better terms to describe an orange.
That's true. It's true. So the orange stays moist throughout the process, and then you could just like do whatever you want with like the skin, much like
what, Ryan?
Never mind. Anyway,
we're not gonna
email us and tell us what you've eaten in the shower.
Leave a comment below.
Smash
that like button.
Ring that bell. Tell us what you've eaten in the shower, and we'll try it, and we'll rank them.
That is something we will definitely get to at some point in the history of this podcast.
Absolutely.
I guess people drinking beer in the shower is a big thing, and I'm not much of a beer person. Like I've had a soda or two now and again in the shower. It's I've got no strong opinion one way or the other, but some people really like the like experience of having a cold beer in the shower.
Cold beer in the shower. Well, it has to be in a bottle. It can't be in a glass, because otherwise you're just gonna make a mess.
Well, it's just gonna get really watered down.
You're just gonna get watered down. Like you may as well be drinking like Bud Light or something.
Oh, Bud Light, please don't sue us.
This podcast brought to you by our sponsor, Bud Light. When I'm in the shower, I like to drink a nice cold glass of Bud Light and just relax.
Speaking of beer, though, I did make pancakes recently, and instead of using milk or water, I used pumpkin beer. And they were the best pancakes I had ever made. They were very malty, and the yeast in the beer it added a little something to it. So it was really good.
Cooking with beer is great.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend it next time. Make beer pancakes. Very good stuff.
And it's pumpkin beer?
Yeah, I mean, it's been sitting in my fridge for like the better part of a year. Again, not being a beer person, it just has been sitting there. So I'm like, I'm gonna use this and see how it goes. Because I was out of milk and I didn't want to use water, so I tried beer, and it ended up working out really well.
I recently made a drink that I stand by. I came home with a bunch of I went grocery shopping and found like the old do you remember like the old Kool-Aid bottles with the plastic?
Oh yeah, the jammers, the squeezers,
Kool-Aid jammers, and Kool-Aid jammers or Kool-Aid blasts. But I came home with those, and my wife was like, "What the hell?" Come home with? We're not drinking that. It is pure sugar.
Yeah.
But what I've been doing is I've been mixing drinks with them and trying to see what the best combination is with a cherry Kool-Aid blast and whatever alcohol I have in the house. And so far the number one pick is White Claw. If you mix White Claw and Kool-Aid blast,
my wife is you just lost about 50 cool points with my wife.
Hey man, there's no laws when you're drinking claws.
Oh my god. Did you come up with that?
No, I did not. That is a very popular.
You should have trademarked that. No, okay, so I gotta interject for a sec. So
Go for it.
My wife, she's in San Francisco right now for work, and White Claw is so popular with the hip crowd that even the dive bar that she likes to go visit has White Claw. They have basically been bullied into stocking it because it is so popular. There's a White Claw shortage in Northern California, or there was last I checked, because it is so insanely popular. Spiked seltzer is a big thing right now, but cherry Kool-Aid and White Claw, huh?
Cherry Kool-Aid and White Claw. I heavily recommend. That's my recommendation of the episode. In fact, I take away my Dolomite is my name recommendation.
Go mix a Kool-Aid jammer with a White Claw.
Yes, Kool-Aid jammer with a White Claw. That's my new one. I've never seen Dolomite as my name.
Wait, have you not? Have you seriously not seen Dolomite as my name?
No, it's great. It's great. Both are great. I recommend both.
At the same time. So
at the same time,
mix up we need a name for it though. What kind of name do you give to a drink that combines the thrill of a sugary kid's drink and the basicness of a White Claw?
Loopy Diabetes.
Loopy Diabetes, all right.
Loopy Diabetes.
The Loopy Diabetes, folks. You heard it here first. Ryan Costello, patent pending.
True.
I don't think you can trademark a drink. I think that was the whole plot of Flaming Moe's.
With that note, I think it's time for our next musical guest. And speaking of patent pending, here's Patton Oswalt and the Raisinets.
That was Patton Oswalt and the Raisinets, which apparently is a band that exists. Look it up.
It is. Yeah. Bing it. Don't Google it.
Don't Google it. Yeah. Google just too mainstream, I think.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. This podcast brought to you by our sponsor, Google. Whenever you need to find something, does Google need a sponsor?
I don't think so.
Does Google need to sponsor things, or is it just so much a part of our life that it could just exist and it doesn't have to spend any money on advertising at all.
It really is. Well, it's like Kleenex, right? Like Kleenex is a
Right.
brand, but when they say get me a tissue, but a lot of people say get me a Kleenex. It's
Mhm.
like when you say
Band-Aid.
use a search engine, people say like it's a verb. Google is a verb at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Speaking of rampant corporate overtake, our next segment we're going to talk about reboots and remakes and that whole nightmare that is the current state of the film industry. And Ryan, you and I, we're big fans of Red Letter Media. Legitimate shout out, not an ironic,
Oh yeah.
douchey shout out. We both really do like the guys over at Red Letter Media, and not too long ago they did one of their series is called Review, where they go back and they watch old movies and they sort of have an open discussion about what works, what didn't work. And they were talking about Gremlins and the inevitable reboot that will happen for that franchise at some point. So that got Ryan and I talking about, how would you handle a Gremlins reboot? And Ryan, I actually thought you had a brilliant pitch for what a Gremlins reboot could entail.
Yes, here is my pitch for a Gremlins reboot. So it's a grubby movie studio, and they've just bought the rights to remake the original Gremlins movie. The problem is that as they're remaking it, they just want to make a cash grab. They don't think the original Gremlins was scary enough. They don't think they're going for like a Blumhouse type thing, where they're just kind of taking away like the charm of the original movie, and they're trying to make like their own like rated R gritty movie.
The hardcore gritty reboot, which
Yes.
seems to be the trend in a lot of studios
right.
these days. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Most of the time it doesn't.
It's true. They've hired a consultant who is the person that wrote the first and second Gremlins movies, and he doesn't like the direction that it's going at all. And the reason that he doesn't like the direction is because he's Billy Peltzer, and he wrote these movies based on his life, which were all true stories, and the reason that he wrote them was to warn the world about gremlins and what you do with them, how you don't get them wet, how you don't feed them after midnight. And the reason he made those movies was to warn that. The reboot, the remake, wants to get rid of those rules because they think they're confusing and people won't react to them. They just want scary gremlins.
They just want a monster to show up and,
right. So he tries to tell them that it's true, but they say, no, it's not true. You're just a crazy old man. So he decides that he's going to show them Gizmo in order to prove that the gremlins are real. But he takes them to the studio, and Gizmo accidentally gets wet, and gremlins run rampant and start destroying the set of their own gritty reboot. Meanwhile, the robots from this Gremlins movie that they're making start going haywire, and so it's the cartoony Tex Avery Gremlins versus these dark, gritty Gremlins. And the movie is called Gremlins Again.
Gremlins Again.
Gremlins Again is the title of the movie. Gremlins 3, Gremlins Again. And that is my reboot idea.
Can it be Gremlins, but the movie. E in Gremlins is a 3?
What?
I said, can it be Gremlins 3, but the E in Gremlins is a 3?
Absolutely. In fact, they should come out with those posters that are like really vague. That's just like the E in Gremlins, but it's a 3. And it'll just say coming soon. Ooh. And people will be like, I don't remember what that is. Like this really poor marketing.
Gremlins, I feel like Gremlins is popular enough. I mean, I'm looking at a plush of Gizmo sitting on my shelf right now.
Describe to me what the E in Gremlins looks like. If you could describe what the E in Gremlins looks like, I'll look it up now and try to.
Okay, we're doing this live. if I
Is it
recall,
lowercase or uppercase?
oh fuck, oh man, now you've got me second guessing myself. I'm trying to picture. I'm gonna say lowercase.
It is uppercase.
Ah, damn. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
then your theory is right. No one remembers.
I mean, you could have. Here's what you could have. You could have a poster of, what could you have? Like, you remember those Child's Play posters?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah,
like,
the ones that the one
the
that was
first
a
one was really good.
great idea, and then they drove the concept into the ground.
Yeah, where he was killing like the Toy Story characters.
Yeah.
You could have like movies that have like gremlins, like creeping up on them, like coming this summer.
Yeah.
Or it's just like a claw or like a hand of a gremlin, and then the log line is "uh-oh."
Whatever it is, the teaser poster would have to be legitimately better than whatever the final poster is, because that seems to be the trend in Hollywood for some reason, and marketing, is that every teaser poster that we see is very artistic, it's very subdued, and then for some reason, what ends up being the main advertising poster, the thing that ends up on the DVD case, it looks like hot garbage.
Yes. Oh yeah, because they have to market the movie, and I hate this trend now, where now people are changing the titles of movies after they release.
Yeah, that's not a new thing, but I think...
Is it not a new thing?
No, because I mean, obviously the most recent and the most egregious example is the Harley Quinn movie, right? Birds of Prey.
Mm-hmm.
Which I have to say, do you remember the episode of The Simpsons where Troy McClure starts dating Selma, and they get married,
Mm-hmm.
and they split by the end, but he's like, Troy McClure is going to be just fine. And he like starts his own, like, he stars in his own movie that he bankrolls, and it's like, Professor Frumpton and the Fantabulous Stupendulous Contraption or whatever.
Yes.
I immediately thought of that gag when I saw Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. It's not a bad title. It's very character appropriate, but I just had to laugh because it's again like Simpsons did it. It's
Yep. That's true.
But Edge of Tomorrow actually changed its title after the fact.
Yes.
Ghostbusters 2016 changed its name after the fact. They tried desperately to be called Ghostbusters Answer the Call once the Blu-ray released, because they wanted to not be compared to just being a reboot of Ghostbusters. I think they were trying to set up their own alternate universe. And that's all I'm going to say about Ghostbusters, because apparently that is a more politically hot topic than anything happening in the news right now.
It's true.
So we don't talk about Ghostbusters. We're afraid.
We are afraid of those ghosts.
Yeah. The ghosts of terrible marketing.
What's the new one called? What's the new Ghostbusters called?
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
And that one's being written by the son of Jason Reitman, right?
Yes. No, it is Jason Reitman. Ivan Reitman is...
Ivan Reitman, right. Ivan Reitman's his father,
yes.
Jason Reitman's his son.
Yeah.
It looks fine. Honestly, it looks fine.
It doesn't look like Ghostbusters.
It looks like Stranger Things.
Yeah. But I like Stranger Things. So.
Sure, I like Stranger Things too. Well,
I
like Stranger Things as well. Stranger Things 2 is the worst Stranger Things series.
I agree. I loved season 3 though.
Season 3 was great, especially. It's funny. Season 3 of Stranger Things, because it was written like a full film, like a blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
It basically feels like a full movie from start to finish, and was meant to be watched in like a binge setting.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 was a little more scattered, so binging it, like, there's just like bits and pieces. It seems more disjointed, I feel.
I'd say season 3 is kind of... Well, I read something once that like Stranger Things works, where like they split up characters, and each character is in a different genre of movie that was popular in the 80s. The kids are always like the coming of age movie. Hopper and Joyce are in the conspiracy thriller, and Nancy and the boys, BOIS,
the boys,
are
me and the boys,
are in the horror movie.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
They all have their own problems. And I all struggle with them, and it isn't until they combine their genres and and kind of like go back and forth, where they're able to get through their challenges.
Yeah.
So there's like this, and I think every season does that. I think everyone, like last year, it was Steve and Dustin. They were the conspiracy.
Yeah, they were like in the
thriller.
political Cold War thriller spy.
Right.
It was a spy genre, essentially.
And then Joyce and Hopper were kind of in like the buddy cop style, like Terminator.
Yeah.
Action movie.
Yeah.
And I think the kids were in the horror movie. Like, but it all comes down to like them like combining their forces and.
Yeah. Horror movie meets 16 Candles.
Yeah. Yes.
For the kids.
Yeah, it's
because there was a lot of like interpersonal relationships, things going on in that season. That's a really good point. It does raise the question. Some shows work better if you binge them all in a single setting. Some don't. What's your stance on? Because now that we have streaming services like Disney Plus, where their model is very clearly, we want to do this on a weekly basis versus we want to do this on a binge basis. Which of the two models do you think works? Do you think it's a case-by-case basis? Do you think one is better than the other? Like, what's your take on that?
That's a great question. I think it is case-to-case basis. I think when binge watching, I think the first truly large show that was made for binge watching was House of Cards on Netflix. When House of Cards dropped, and they dropped every episode, I think that was huge, and that became like the water cooler moment. Is, have you seen House of Cards? Like, have you finished House of Cards?
Yeah.
When Mandalorian came out, what they were able to do with that is like there's so much of shows now that you binge watch where you kind of forget moments. Like, I think if you were to ask somebody what their favorite episode of Stranger Things was, I think they would have a really hard time trying to tell you what it was.
Yes, they would pick a moment and then say whatever episode this moment was from. Whereas a show like Mandalorian had very self-contained episodes, and you can binge Mandalorian. I went back and I just had it on in the background, and I was going through each episode, one after the other. But Mandalorian is very episodic in that sense.
Yes,
it's a new week, a new planet, a new situation to get out of. And I think it's interesting that you mention water cooler culture, because Game of Thrones was, for the longest time, that was the show, and it's been around since television's been a thing, right? Ever since weekly installments of shows with an overarching plot have been happening. People have been talking about it, at work. But after Game of Thrones ended, Mandalorian kind of filled that void, I think a lot of people felt. So I think that was sort of a masterstroke on Disney's part to use the weekly format. And I think that's honestly what got them as many subscribers in the beginning, because think about this. Even though Mandalorian was a really good show, if they had released it all in one setting, you could get through it in the time it would take for your trial subscription of Disney Plus to end.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah,
for them to go week by week, I think was very smart on
it was
their
very
part.
Smart.
And I know a lot of people too who are just like, I don't want to watch every week. I want to just like get through it all at once. So I think part of it is convenience too. I think binge watching works better for some people who are busier in their schedules, or just don't have time to sit down once a week and watch something. But the great thing about streaming services is once the episodes have aired, weekly basis or not, you can still go through and binge them. You just have to wait, and you can't be a part of the discussion if you're trying to avoid spoilers.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I would agree with you. I think that's the kind of now that binge watching has become just part of our culture. I think now that seems to be the way you release a show.
Yeah,
and I think it's a great way to gauge interest in how many people are like staying on.
Yeah,
and how it's affecting like the outside world. It's just a great show. I love Disney Plus very, very much.
Are you just saying that because I work for Disney?
Spencer, are we done talking about Disney? Like, do we need to continue to?
No, we don't have to talk about Disney anymore, Ryan. Let's talk about who you voted for.
Who I voted for?
No, I'm kidding.
I voted for the female Ghostbusters.
Oh boy, that's gonna get some backlash.
Call back.
Ryan,
Answer the
we
call.
want. Oh Jesus. We want this show to be successful. We can't talk about Ghostbusters 2016.
We talked about Ghostbusters for like 5 minutes. Tell me one opinion about the new Ghostbusters.
Which one? 2016?
To 2016. Tell me one opinion.
One opinion.
Me one. One opinion.
I liked the fact that it felt like an episode of the real Ghostbusters. And
oh my god.
are you sincerely outraged?
No, I love the real Ghostbusters.
I do too. No, and let me clarify. There's something about the color timing and the creativity of the proton weapons in the Ghostbusters 2016 movie that reminded me of the real Ghostbusters, because that was a very colorful show. But honestly, all I can say about Ghostbusters 2016 is I liked it. I've seen it multiple times. However, that solely is your opinion of me. I don't really care. This isn't your podcast, so I'm going to stick with that story. But did you ever actually get a chance to see it?
I've not ever gotten a chance to see it.
No.
I would watch it. I'd check it out. I feel like I've heard both sides of the argument by this point, but I don't know. I kind of feel like comedies, just as a genre, tend to be looked at more critically.
Yeah. Good comedy's hard to pull off, and I understand the criticism.
Well, it's subjective is the thing. It's like,
sure,
there are people that are going to find things funny, and there are people that aren't.
Well, and like I said, I understand the criticisms that have been levied against the movie. I don't think one opinion is more valid than the other. I think everyone is entitled to an opinion, but I just think it's ridiculous how much backlash there was over a Ghostbusters movie.
It's true.
It kind of
you know who the real problem is? It's the ghosts.
It is the ghosts.
Why attack the Ghostbusters when who's gonna attack the ghosts?
Well, and if you're attacking the Ghostbusters, then who are you gonna call?
Who are you gonna call? Are you gonna call the ghosts? No.
I think this bit's
They're
done.
not gonna answer the call. They don't have thumbs, Spencer. They can't. Spencer.
Yes, Ryan.
Who's gonna bust the ghosts?
A bunch of kids now, apparently.
This podcast brought to you by Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I believe will be coming out in 2024.
I think it's coming out this summer.
Is it really? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need a new sponsor.
We're going to go through sponsors faster than Sonic goes through box office revenue.
Oh, take that. Well, that's actually a compliment.
That is a compliment. Sonic did surprisingly well for a movie that everyone was prepared to hate.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that you and I have a running joke for is I feel like right now we're just sort of in the age of it was fine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it makes me wonder, is that because movies have been so historically disastrous over the last few years that we're just burned out and we're happy for something to be watchable? But then again, I feel like good movies are out there. You just need to know where to look. Like, I felt like most of the Oscar nominations this year were for really good, enjoyable movies.
They were. I was actually just talking about this with someone. I think what the Oscars show, like this year, with Parasite winning. Parasite, did you ever see that movie?
No, I still haven't seen Parasite. I want to, though. I have many options to watch it, so I just need to get on that.
I think what that win showed was that if you want to watch a great movie and you're kind of burned out, there are tons of great foreign movies out there. I'd say especially from South Korea.
Oh yeah.
And just basically anywhere you could find a list, and if you watch Parasite and you're like, I really enjoyed this, then there's just like a whole other world, where it's just great stories and yeah. I would say that anybody that feels burned out, just try a foreign film.
Yeah.
Like, go find a list online of like great foreign movies and just dig in, because they're fun.
Yeah.
They're not boring. They're not tough to get through. They're not tough to understand. Subtitles aren't a big deal. You could just enjoy them.
Maybe don't start with Old Boy, but yeah, go out and.
I contraire. That is I. That's right. I contraire. You should absolutely start with Old Boy. Old Boy is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Well, it's a fantastic movie, but we want people to not get scared away from foreign cinema.
Listen, man. If you want like a feel-good movie,
Ryan, no, I'm not gonna let you Dear Zachary this moment with Old Boy.
I told you Dear Zachary was gonna be fine.
You told me Dear Zachary was a comedy.
Okay. My recommendation for the episode is Dear Zachary.
If you want to feel just absolutely furious while watching a movie,
absolutely furious about life and heavily and incredibly sad, crack open a cold Luby Diabetes and turn on Dolomite Is My Name.
Well, no, because Dolomite Is My Name is a feel-good movie. Dear Zachary is a movie about and it's very hard to get through. And when we were in college, Ryan was like, have you seen Dear Zachary? This is a great movie. It's a comedy. And he was lying. And I was waiting for it to get funny.
How else were you guys going to watch it?
You could have just told me it's a good movie.
It to get funny? I think we have a musical guest. Spencer, who's our next musical guest?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Clash with London Calling. We'll be right back. And we're back. That was The Clash, London Calling. It's a really great song. It's one of my favorites.
It's fantastic.
If you ever...
I still don't know... who's going to call London, Spencer?
It's not going to be the Ghostbusters based on that one.
It's not going to be the Ghostbusters, because who are they going to call? Who are we going to call if we keep busting the Ghostbusters?
All this infighting, it really needs to stop.
You know what, Spencer? I love you, but I disagree.
Oh, no. Is this the end of the pods we cast along the way?
This is the first and last episode. But hey, since it's our first episode, I think it's time that we dig into our mailbag.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. So every episode, we're going to dig into listener/viewer fan mail, comments, any feedback we have from the show. And we're going to read it here on the podcast. So like I said, leave a comment. At some point, we will have an email address set up that we will probably not ever check. And you'll be able to send us your comments and feedback. We
should set up a P.O. box.
We should set up a P.O. box, but we won't tell them which state it's in.
No, just a P.O. box. I just like saying P.O. box. I remember in Nickelodeon, they always used to say, like, send your letters here, P.O. box. I would be like, ooh, what's that?
It sounds so officious.
So
Ryan, do you want to read one of our fan letters?
But Spencer, it's the first episode. We don't have any fan letters.
You want to just open up the mailbag there and read one of our letters?
Spencer, like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't have a bag. Like, we don't have an address. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we can't... Spencer, we didn't think this through. Spencer... Oh, you know what? I just got a letter here. It just came through. It slid under my door, and I'll read it aloud.
Okay,
now.
Yeah, that's great.
It just says we're watching you.
Oh, that's got to probably be from our FBI agents that are listening to all of our phone conversations.
It's true. They really enjoy. They're our top listeners right now. Actually,
They are our top listeners. In fact, they're listening to these conversations before they even air because I have a Google Home in my house. So
that's true. That's true. And I do believe it does spider walk around your house when you're not looking.
yeah, it does. It really scares the cats, and it's kind of a problem. But being able to turn off the lights with my voice is so much easier than getting up and flicking a switch.
No, Spencer, I think you have a mailbag there. Like, do you have something you want to read from?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
We hate your voices. That's a great comment.
That's a great comment.
So next week, this same time next week, probably, maybe, who knows? Much like all of my favorite podcasts, recordings will come out inconsistently and very few and far between. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in for the pilot episode of the pods we cast along the way. My name is Spencer.
And I am Ryan. Oh, Spencer, I just got another letter from our mailbag.
Oh, yeah? What does that say?
Yeah, it just says, it says, "You've done goofed now. Now we're coming for you. Signed, the Ghosts."
Oh, no! Cue Ghostbusters theme!